So anyway, I would say that 25% of the time, it is necessary to do the thing in that order for it to be done well. And then maybe 50% of the time, it doesn't really matter. You know, you can do it in that order, you can do it in another order, like it doesn't really make that big of a difference. And then maybe 25% of the time, it would actually be better to do it another way. And I would say it's that way with like everything. So in like confrontation and conflict and that sort of thing, for example, INFJs were really good at dealing with things in subtle ways. And again, I would kind of say roughly the same thing. Maybe 25% of the time, you know, it's better to do it the way that we do it. And maybe it's like the only way to do it. Maybe 50% of the time, it doesn't matter, just however it is that you deal with stuff. Somebody, you know, the other 25% of the time, you definitely have to do something that looks like conflict and like deal with something out in the open. So, yeah, I mean, it's really funny how different people can actually be, because I was hearing this one guy say that, you know, he has to run into a brick wall to be able to learn something. And he would like always instigate fights, and he never got hurt. The other people did, but he never did. And so one time he actually got hurt. He had to go to the hospital. It wasn't life-threatening or anything, but he always says about that like, that was great. Like, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. So, you know, as INFJ, you're like, oh my gosh, you know. But, because this was something, you know, that like changed his appearance and stuff, and you're like, wow, how different we all are. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's not that it's worse or better or anything, it's just everybody's different. But I mean, as an INFJ, my parents would just look at me crooked, and I was just like, you know, behave. So but sometimes, you know, it's just everybody understands stuff in a different way, and sometimes you have to, you know, how do I say this, like, I had a language partner that was an INFJ, and so we were like corresponding, right? And so I would like hint at something, like something bothered me, and I didn't expect, you know, anything to happen, but like the next time the whole thing would always be changed, like right away. And I'm like, because people will think that INFJs are doormats, and we'll even get to think that, you know, think that it's true ourselves. But the thing is that with other INFJs, it's just like, we're really, well, there's better communication between types, for one thing. And for another thing, we're just really sensitive. And so we are being perfectly assertive with each other. You know, we have perfectly clear understanding with each other, and maybe we even have a huge fight and nobody's even gonna notice anything happen, you know what I'm saying? Because we're just so subtle. And we're even maybe being borderline rude with each other, and like maybe even abusive. Nobody's even gonna notice anything happen. See, this is what happens with us with other types, because other types do not communicate at that level of subtlety. And so we, you know, not only will people not understand us when we say something, but a lot of times they don't even know, like, recognize that we've been saying anything to begin with. So, like I said, like maybe 25% of the time, you're gonna have to go outside of your comfort zone and communicate in a way that maybe feels to you like it's just like, oh my gosh, like that's so mean or something like that. But it's just different types have different styles of communication, and you're just gonna sometimes have to adjust. I'm not saying you have to change who you are, but you definitely have to sometimes just step outside of what's comfortable for you to communicate with people. So anyway, this is a problem that ENTJs do not have on the assertive end of it. Of course, they have SE for their third function, as I said. Now, this third function is kind of a it's a basic function. It's kind of like, it's your big brother. Not that I have a big brother, but it's like something that you are, it's called an aspirational function, and you hope that when you grow up someday that you're going to be like this. So it's kind of, it's a childlike function, but you just really look up to it, and you really hope that you can do this well and other people see you like this. So, why are you playing with the dog's thunder hoodie? Hey, don't tear it apart. Pineapple, stop that. Hey, stop. Cats. Anyway, so you really admire this function. And so a lot of times you you really you try a lot in this function, and people will really notice that about you. That's why, like with an INFJ, I had to learn to recognize INFJs because other INFJs, because they'll look kind of like ISTJs because they're trying so hard at that TI. And you know, your third function, it's good. You're good at it. You are good at it. You're basic, but you're solid. And you know, the things that are in your third space, you're the most pure that of any other types. As I was saying, you know, the INFJs and the ISFJs are the most pure TI, but we really do try at the TI. And so you'll see the TI and you'll see the SI. The SI we put out there to be friendly, even though we don't personally really value it. And so you'll see the TI and the SI, and so that gives us a little bit of an ISTJ vibe if it's not a really warm social setting. People don't know you. And the ENTJs will really give. So we can give kind of a really intellectual vibe, a lot more than we are, because we're just really trying at the TI. And it's the same way with the ENTJs. They really strive for the SE, and so they can seem a lot more assertive than they actually are. And if you want to diss somebody, diss their third function, they're going to get mad at you, cognitively speaking, because it's just the function they look up to. You know, if somebody calls me dumb, or it's like, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever, cognitively speaking anyway, I'm probably going to get mad at you. So, but ENTJs, a lot of times people are tempted to, and you'll see that happen with ENTJs, because if they think that you think that they're a pushover, they're going to spring right into action and show you, no, I'm not a pushover, you know, so that's how that goes. A lot of times people tend to think that, like, you have ENTJ and INTJ, they'll think that they're just the same, but one is an introverted version of the other one. So, but that's not true. They do have some similarities, but like the position of the functions is different, and like one is a judger and one's a perceiver, and is really different. But anyway, I will say that I don't think that I would have. It really helped me a lot getting to know my ENTJ friend. A lot, having known my INTJ sister. And I think that's for two reasons. One reason, INTJs and ENTJs are not very common, and then among women they're not very common, and they don't really personify the stereotypes for women. So I probably wouldn't have really, I would have been not quite sure what to do with her enough to like really do anything with her, I don't think, if I hadn't known my sister already. But that being said, let me say what one of the differences, if there is, between ENTJs and INTJs. When my sister invites me to do something, I know that I can just relax. She planned it all out. She's got all the details worked out, and like, for a TV blind person, it's like, yay, I can just relax and not think about anything. Because I'm not, yeah. So anyway, so my friend invited me to do something, and she wanted to go to this event. I don't think she's gonna mind me saying this, I hope not. But she wanted to go to this event, and so we went to this event, and it was supposed to be a recurring event, right? That happened every week, and we went and we got there, and like, there was no one there. It wasn't even an event that was happening anymore. And I'm like, it's not like it was a terrible thing or anything, but I was just like surprised, because I'm thinking that she's a extroverted INTJ, right? And then she told me about something that happened to her one time, that somebody invited her to come visit them. So like, she jumps in the car, and she's like driving and driving and driving. She's still not there, and she's still not there. And she's like, gee, I mean, like, how far away is this? So she goes and looks at her GPS, and she'd already driven an hour, and there's still another hour to go. She didn't know they lived that far away. And she's like, oh, well, I came this far, I might as well keep going. And you should have seen my face. I was just like, it never even occurred to me that somebody could be like thinking that way. I'm just like, because like, we're fascinated by people. We want to understand how they think, and I never even saw that before. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, after that, I had my work cut out for me, and like, she said another time she wanted to go to an event that was like 2 hours away. I was like, yeah. So I went and looked it up and looked at the reviews and everything. I found something that I knew she wouldn't like, and I told her, and she said, I don't like that. Let's find another place and go some other time. I was like, okay. So, I mean, like the last time we did something, I had a feeling it wasn't going to work out. We did something else and it was fun. Like, I don't really care that much, you know. I mean, it's kind of fun if stuff doesn't work out the way it's planned sometimes, but I'm just saying. They are SI blind, and this was kind of confusing to me at first because, I mean, with a grandpa, my language partner, her, like, they are, entjs can be really persnickety. I was like, what in the heck is that coming from? Because SI, I was thinking of as being the detail function. And so I looked it up, you know, like in forums and stuff, and it's the TE. The TE is very exact about how something should be done. And entjs are only using this like in their area of expertise. And you know, the thing that they do, they don't use it generally like for everything. And well, I can tell you a couple funny stories, the SI blind thing. And this is so funny because like in your personality, you can be like so sophisticated in one function, just like ridiculous in another function. And like this is with all of us, this happens. So but anyway, my grandpa, three things that I can think of offhand. One, he lost his parakeet. He found it was okay, but it was in the fridge. Another thing, we were at a stoplight. He was way over the stoplight, right? And you know, entjs, if you know any, they're not particularly patient. And it's like we're sitting there forever, and he's saying stuff and everything, right? And so we're like, Grandpa, you need to pull back because these things are weighted. It doesn't know that you're there. So he finally listened to us and pulled back. And I don't know if it was just a long light or it was a weighted thing or whatever, but it turned almost right away. And in true TE fashion, he shot backwards. You know, he had to put it out of gear. I have done that myself. There's no one behind us, by the way, but I have done that myself because, as I said, I'm not too great at SI. But I barely have TE, so I don't shoot anywhere. You know what I'm saying? I do everything gently. I don't really have the momentum to not do things gently unless I've thought about it a long time. Oh, and the other thing he did was he was bringing out a bowl of like potatoes to the table, and it was covered with aluminum foil. And these potatoes, as he was walking along, were falling out ahead of him, and he didn't notice. He also apparently didn't notice, like, think of the detail of like looking on the bowl to see whether you could stick it in the oven. And he didn't think of the detail. He didn't notice the detail of like part of the bowl apparently fell off somewhere. And it was just ridiculous because you have to understand my grandpa was a high-ranking person in what he was working. He was over like, you know, all these hundreds of people and ran this whole operation and everything. I mean, he was meticulous on what he did. Even his yard was like had no weeds in it. He had his family pull them out personally. I mean, he was meticulous. And then like for these things to happen, it's just like where did that come from? And that is how the seventh function operates. Yeah. And so what else about entjs? They have FE as their eighth function, which I already said. Let me just a second.